Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Good Living Podcast. And I have to confess, I actually recorded this before, and I tried to do a table and follow it accordingly. I don't know, it was messed up. I finished recording and I didn't even play it back. It just felt wrong. It felt like I did not do well enough, and I cancelled it and tried to do it from my head again like the last time. It might not be the way. I don't know, it might not be as good as you expect, or you might think that the other one would have been better, but I'm not going to put out content that I'm not comfortable with, so I'm just going to do it. So today, shout out to the mothers, happy Mother's Day again, and God bless all of you for the work you're doing. And it might be kind of an awkward topic to talk about on Mother's Day, because today it's feminism versus gender equality, and are all genders equal? Now, I'm going to say this here. I don't think all genders were made equal. I actually do think that men were made to be stronger and more physically capable than women. And while I might be wrong, because nothing I say on my podcast is actually certified knowledge, that is why it's just a podcast. It's my opinion. I'm just saying what I think. So if you get too upset, well, I apologize. You can stop listening. But I hope you don't actually. So let's continue. So I did some research. Gender equality is what I got from the internet, is when people have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. And then I went to Google feminism as well. And shockingly, to me, it was the same meaning. It's about genders having equal rights and responsibilities and opportunities, which is what feminists would tell you. Because my opinion on this matter is that feminists are not really advocates of gender equality. I've always said this before to people who care to have the conversation with me. I think feminists are a bit more, it's like the extremist version of gender equality. It's like the slightly toxic aspect of gender equality. And how do I differentiate them? I'd say feminists are like a let us behead the men kind of movement, while gender equality are like let us get what these men are getting as well for ourselves. And I don't think the latter one is bad. But here's what I'm going to say. I'm not being a member of Patriarchy FC now by saying these things I'm going to say. But like I've said earlier, I think men were made stronger from the beginning of time. I don't know what definition of, or what theory of existence you believe in, but I believe in the fact that God created Adam and Eve. That's how I think we all got here. And just a simple fact that the female version, which is Eve, was brought about by taking a part of Adam, already settles my case of it. If that's what you believe, then it actually settles your case of the fact that females were made slightly weaker than men on the average. I had this conversation with somebody a few years ago where he kept arguing with me. He said it is the society that is making it seem, or that is making women think that they're slightly weaker than men, that the average woman will be the same strength and the same capabilities as the average man, and it is society that's teaching them, like, if you give birth to two children, for example, even twins, and you put them you take them somewhere else, put them in a room, they have no contact with the outside world, and you're treating them the exact same way, giving them the same food, the same water, the same quantity of everything, they will both turn out to have the same amount of strength, the same amount of capabilities and everything. Why I believe that society influences a lot of the way influences a lot in the way we turn out to be. But I really think that the genetics of a male is different from the genetics of a female. And that is what I was arguing with this guy. These people that keep saying gender is fluid, we are different. The two genders are not equal. And I'm going to explain why I feel this way on this podcast. Now, take for example the argument that men are favored more in this world. I'm going to try and debunk the argument while I'm here, because I think it's unfair that you would say that kind of thing, because the point that any feminist, because this is an argument I'm going to have with a standard feminist, right? Because I'm all for gender equality in terms of giving them the right opportunities. Like, don't discriminate against them. If a girl wants to go to school, let her go to school. If somebody is seeking for a job, and she's qualified, don't deny her that job because she's a woman. That's gender equality. I'm all for that. But the part where I have an issue is where they argue that men are treated better. I mean, I don't understand how you come up with that, because I understand that women suffer certain things. But then when you argue like that, it means you're turning a complete blind eye to what men suffer. Because the reason why, there's an argument that the Western world right now is being governed by men. It is male dominated, and there's this patriarchal dominance, and that is the structure of it. And I don't think the fundamental structure of the Western world is as a result of patriarchal preference. It is as a result of competence. The reason why, feminists would argue that, the men dominate the world in the sense that, the majority of wealth is owned by men. The majority of successful business is owned by men. Mainstream industries like music, men; movies, men; tech, men. And it is dominated by men, and it is unfair, it is partial. Let me say this, it's a lie. It is not partial, because it is the men who are ambitious enough to chase those fields that end up in those fields in that number. If you ask people who are maybe finishing secondary school or are just in their first year or so in uni, and you ask them what they want to do, you will find out that people who want to be musicians, right, and tell you they want to be musicians, the number of them, you would see that more men want to do that than women. It doesn't mean, maybe I'm wrong, all right? Now, I'm not saying this whole argument is wrong. I'm just saying one statement. Maybe everybody wants to be a musician, but who works hard at it? Who works the hardest at it? I mean, what discrimination will a woman get in the industry if you want to be a musician as a woman? Really, what discrimination will you face? All right? Because as a man, you actually have to, if you have the talent and everything, I think it's easier for women to actually get funding. For example, your studio sessions, to shoot your music video if you're an upcoming artist. I think as a woman, you actually stand a better chance. It depends. This thing depends on everybody and the connections they actually have. But on the average, especially an attractive woman, you have a better chance of getting funding from funding sources than the average man trying to make it in the music industry. So I feel like it's not built on partiality, it's built on competence, because more men have the dogged determination to push through and follow their follow their dream than women do. If a man wants to be an engineer, for example, he goes to school, he learns. The woman in his class does the same thing, because I know engineering departments in schools, they are male dominated. And it's not because they refuse to admit women. Women do not apply for it. Yes, women will get dropped, but men also got dropped for that position in that department. Alright, people were denied admission into engineering in certain schools. Boys were denied admission. We girls were denied admission. But feminists want to argue that those girls were denied admission because they were girls. And I say no. It's because they didn't cut it, because they're also girls that were given admission. They didn't go to sleep with anybody to get it. Alright? And then something else. The the feminists would want to argue that women suffer more than men. And what do women suffer? I would say what you suffer. Their major points would be, and by saying it doesn't mean I don't understand or I don't empathize with these issues, because they are real and I know these issues. Domestic violence, they suffer those. They suffer discrimination in rural areas. Girls are actually not allowed to go to school or work or do certain things. They suffer this. They suffer rape. They suffer. Have I said domestic violence? Yes. These things are issues that are synonymous to a certain gender, and they suffer it. I mean, it's the truth. But it does not mean that they suffer more than men. It's because it's a feminist movement. They're not going to come and start empathizing with us. No, they're going to focus on the things that are affecting them, which is those issues. And it's true. But then, what affects men? I'm going to tell you what affects men. The majority of people in prison are men. You might say they committed the crimes, yes, but they also innocent people in prison. It doesn't take away the fact that they suffer. And there's no reason to hit a woman when you talk about domestic violence. But I don't want to go into something that's going to be a little bit controversial. But women fight in relationships with their men, with their husbands, and the husbands end up beating them, and then it's domestic violence because of course he's stronger than her, and then he beat her up. But it could be a fight that she actually threw punches and threw weapons at him. That's the same thing. You commit a crime, you go to prison. So who is more likely to go to prison? Men. Prisons are filled with men. What gender has the majority of homeless people? It's the men. What gender has the majority of people on the street, bombs and all of that? It's men. What gender has the highest rate in suicides? It's men. What gender has the highest rate in depression? It's men. Deaths from, work hazards? It's men. Death in wars? It's men. Who does worse in school between men and women? It's men. It's the male. These are things that we suffer. But of course, the world is not even fair to men. I'm not saying men suffer more. I'm just saying women don't suffer more. There's no scale you can use to quantify what the both genders suffer, and then you can now say this one suffers more than this one. No. So these arguments are baseless in my opinion. You cannot say women suffer more. Now, in terms of dominance, I've established the fact that it's because the male gender are generally more ambitious. I'm going to give you a reason why this thing is more men are dominant in certain areas. It's because, one, let me give you something that affects their drive. For example, there's a man that wants to be an engineer, a woman that wants to be an engineer. They are both going through these processes, getting good grades and all of that. The man knows in his mind that he has to get this degree, get this career going for himself, because he has to provide for his family. He has to feed his family. So aside the general love and passion he has for that career, there's also the pressure of provision for his family that keeps him going. While these women, on the other hand, while they're in pursuit of this thing, you might meet a man, he's rich, able to take care of your needs and all of that, and you decide to leave what you're pursuing as a career and focus on family. Be a mother, be a homemaker. And then there is one woman less in the engineering field than there would have been because you have decided to take a different path. It's not because you're a woman. Nobody really forced her, you get. But the society has given you a choice to make, and you've made a choice. A lot of men are actually woke and they would support their wives' careers. I understand that certain men would not allow that to happen, actually. They won't let their wives do the jobs, they follow their careers and follow their dreams. But a lot of men would. But these women just decide because it's actually easier to stay, take an allowance, and take care of the home. It's easier to do. But men don't have that option. And so they go all the way in these careers, in the tech field, in entertainment, in different areas of life. And that is why it's male dominated, not because they told women, hey, you're locking the door to you. In terms of locking the door, women actually enjoy stuff. A woman can get in the club for free. Girls can stay and have 0 naira. Just look good. You get in the club for free. You get to a boat or a yacht party for free. These experiences, you get them for free just by being female. I won't get in there. Nobody is going to let me go into a club if I don't look like I'm going to spend. Nobody's going to let me party on a yacht if I'm not, if I don't have something like that maybe you can come to my own yacht later and party. What am I bringing? So these are the things that motivate men to do better. So generally, it's a matter of competence. That is why the world is dominated by men, not because the world is unfair or the world doesn't like women. This is one argument. Now you can bring in your suggestions, and I'm actually going to share my voice link, so you can lend in your voice and actually record your opinions and send to me. And also the email, goodlivingpodcast@gmail.com, goodlivingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope I didn't mess up that spelling, sure. So this is me saying what I think. So are the genders equal? No. Generally, in terms of strength, I would say this. For example, in a workplace, or when you're considering 2 people for a job. When you're considering 2 people for a job, one is male, one is female. First of all, if they are 30 candidates for an average job, just any job you put there that male or female can actually dominate, and you look at your candidates, 99% of the time in those scenarios, men are more than women on the applications list. That generally tilts the probability of them, makes the probability of them hiring a man higher, because in terms of the applicants, there are more men generally. And then when you start looking at things like age, experience, what else? Availability, for example. And I think this came up in the argument I was talking about that I had a few years ago. If they are to employ and it all checks out, you look at this woman, maybe the person in question is married. The employer would look and say, and this is not because she's a woman and he feels like she's not going to be able to do the job well on her day, But when he look at the fact, okay, you're married, no kids, nice. But now the fact that she's married means she could get pregnant, right? And then she'll have to take maternity leave, and that will make the business or the company suffer in one way or the other. Why I still do not think maybe it's enough reason for you not to give her the job. But as an employer, you're looking at the best interest of your business. You're not trying to be sexist, but your business, you would say, okay, let's just employ the man because he has everything that doesn't come with the baggage of having to go on maternity leave in 6 months' time or in a year's time. And they will take him. You understand? It doesn't mean women should not get jobs because they are going to eventually give birth. That's why I say it's probably not a good reason. But it's not because of the gender. It's not because, okay, you are a vagina-owning female. That is why we are refusing. The way they will just look at your skin color and profile you and not give you certain jobs in the US or so. That is not the case, Understand from the other party. All right. Let me calm down and think of my point, because I was going to say something else. There's a problem with this podcast. I really would like to pause and collect my thoughts, but no, it's not really easy. All right, but something else. Feminists would argue a lot about, rewards men get, and they're not eligible, or they're not considered as eligible for those rewards. And I would say this: men do more work in this world, whether you believe it or not. Apart from the fact that they work hard and then they get to certain positions that makes it seem like it's male dominated, they actually do more work. Put a bunch of feminists in an office, for example, where it's cubicles all over the place, and there's feminists, and then they're just average men there. In the case that there is a snake infestation, maybe they see a snake in the office, everybody's running helter-skelter. Believe you me, whether you believe it in your mind or not, don't lie to yourself. All the women will stand on their seats, panic, and in every woman's mind in that office, they will be expecting the men to get up, look for sticks and whatever, and try to kill that snake. They're not going to be like, okay, I'm a feminist. In their mind, they're not going to be like, I'm a feminist now, so let me just go out and look for a stick and show these men that I can kill the snake. No. The first survival instinct thought in your head will be to get up, and then you look at the men around you to see what they will do, and it's instinct. Me too. The men in the office, when they see a snake, it is their instinct also. It tells them in their mind, you have to kill this thing. And then they get up and cut. That is how we are wired. That is how we are made. So we should stop trying to force things on people. It even goes as far as, see something else that I say feminism is not gender equality. For example, some women, feminists, will say, you won't have to. Why do you have to be the one to come and serve your husband? On the traditional wedding, for example, serve your husband wine and kneel in front of him. That is just toxic. Why wouldn't you do that? We have cultures. Everybody has culture. And then we are even losing our culture and following what the Western people are doing 100% and forgetting that we have cultures. Does it take anything away from you to kneel and give your husband a drink? It's the rights. It's what you perform on your traditional wedding. But feminists would argue, some feminists would argue against that. I won't say it's not in their feminism code or 10 commandments. No, it's not. But, some people argue that you shouldn't have to be the one to cook meal for your husband. You should only do it when you feel like it, in a household where the man provides. And this is how men are wired. If I provide, I don't even expect a woman to provide for me in the first place. So I feel like it's my responsibility to provide. And we just expect that you should also feel in your mind that it is your duty to convert whatever I provide into the other things that I need, like food, like maybe cleanliness around where we live if we are married and stuff like that. So if there's a movement out there that is telling you don't have to do that, you too, you go to work and come back, two of you should provide and just stock money there and leave it and let the house be dirty and maybe let nobody. I mean, women cook generally because they are the better cooks. I feel like if I get married and I'm a better cook than my wife, I'd like to be cooking. Not every time, but at least I would do it because I want to eat good food, But feminism making women feel like they don't have to do certain things, or it's not. Come on. So I have no hatred towards the movement. I just feel it's skewed a little bit, and they have to like redirect and align themselves with what the core aims and targets of gender equality should be. Like women in the police force. You can't tell women not to go and apply to be police officers. Of course, it's gender equality. They should try. They should, if they are qualified and they meet the training, they should get it. If all genders were equal, honestly, if all genders were actually equal in terms of strength and everything, why do we have male football and female football? Why shouldn't everybody just be playing together? I mean, if feminists think, okay, yes, we are actually on board with that as well. We don't like the fact that it's female football and male football. If you're watching a match and a male footballer tackles his opponent who is a female footballer, the shout to be massive. I'm not saying she's a woman. I mean, a feminist would catch herself when she says it, but she would say it. That is unfair that, these two are playing together, or this guy can tackle this girl like that. So we should stop making exemptions. The whole reason of feminism, I even think, came about because, as time progressed, women began to see the rewards men get for doing the jobs that men do, and they felt that they deserve those rewards as well. There's a little bit of greed in there, because in the olden days, what did men do? Well, they would go and hunt, they would go and farm, and then the men would just stay back with the children and, I wouldn't say play games, but maybe pick berries, pick fruits, do some easy, lighter weight jobs, while men go to do the dangerous things like hunting animals down and cutting meat and stuff like that. But the rewards for men was just the pride you would have in being able to provide for your family. And that was all. Money was not really a thing in the Stone Age. So women didn't fight then. But now when there is money and men now have to put in work in the office and do stuff like that and now get paid more, and they can now afford nice things like cars, shoes and stuff like that. And the modern women are seeing these things and thinking, okay, we deserve this as well because we can stay in the office and punch numbers and do this stuff. Now, if men and women are doing this, where I stand on this issue, if there's a general manager in Abuja of Ecobank and there's a general manager in Lagos Ecobank, they should have the same salary. I think they do the same job, they should have the same salary. So that's not my argument. I'm not saying they shouldn't pay them the same. But where the difference is getting to general manager. When it's time to get to general manager, what are the things they look at? You shouldn't look at her because she's female and not give her the job of general manager, of course. But then that's your level of competence does. What numbers did the man pull in from his previous position? How well did he do? When people are up for that position, how many people are up for that position of general manager? Maybe there's one woman and then 4 men. The probability is 4:1 for a man to actually take the position. So it doesn't mean when a man is actually there, it means that because he's a woman, they didn't give her. No, the chances were that they were going to give a man, and that is why a man got it. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, so I always take that as a sign to stop. But I hope I've made some sense, and please share the link, let other people listen. If you have any disagreements, you can also, like I said, mail me at goodlivingpodcast@gmail.com, and like I said, show some support, share the link. I'm going to drop the voice link there. You can drop your voice messages and all of that. Link, if you can't find it on my WhatsApp status for my contacts, it's on my social media platform, it's on my bio, everywhere. And happy Mother's Day again. I hope I've not offended any mothers, actually. I might have. I can't say I really, really care about that. Sorry. I was going to say something else. Anyhow, have a great day, and see you next time.